Hey there friends, this is Josh again from Lappin Fitness, and we are here today to review a book for hard gainers. This is Stuart McRobert's new Brawn series book. This is book number 1, and the subtitle is How to Build 50 Pounds of Muscle the Natural Way. So honestly, up until it's been, I guess, a year ago, I really didn't have much knowledge of Mr. McRobert's and his philosophies. I just happened to be browsing through Google, searching for hard gainer resources. That's something I do, obviously, because that's one of the core fundamental things that we do on Lappin Fitness is research and come up with resources for hard gainers. So I found Mr. McRobert's, I think there was an article or something about him, which led me to his website and his books, and this is one that stood out particular to me. This is a revised version of some of his previous books. It's supposed to be updated with better information and better principles, I guess you would say. So I wanted to take some time to kind of review this book and give you my thoughts about it. This is going to be quite an extensive review. Depending on how it goes, I may actually divide this up into 2 separate videos because there's a lot to talk about here. So let's go ahead and jump in. Once again, this book, it doesn't say necessarily on the actual cover anywhere, but if you get more into Mr. Stuart McRobert's website and the things I've written about him, you can see that a lot of this information is geared towards hard gainers. And I would say that this is a book primarily geared towards and focused on some of the older bodybuilding principles and techniques. Some of the ideas were that, this kind of training philosophy can be used for people who have less than great genetics, which would be the hard gainer, and people who don't use performance enhancing substances, steroids, or whatever else may be out on the market that enhances people's ability to grow muscles. So I'll just kind of start and go over the key basic principles here. Of course, this was written by Mr. McRoberts, but he attributes a lot of his success to a couple of different guys, Mark Peary, Joseph Curtise Hise, and Peary Rader, which Peary Rader is the kind of founder of the Ironman magazine, which did a lot of things that were kind of geared towards old school bodybuilding principles, and again, things that will really work well for hard gainers. So right in the beginning of the book, what we have is Mr. McRoberts will go through some of his key principles, some of the fundamental ideas of his training philosophy. And I guess you would boil it down to this. He kind of, his philosophy is based on what we call an abbreviated training program. And his theory is that too much volume and too much frequency and too much high-risk exercises lead to failure in most bodybuilders or strength training guys. So by too much volume, we mean too many sets. By too much frequency, we mean the number of times you're working out per week. He also advises against certain exercises, specifically ones that are dangerous to the lower back. And he's also against performance enhancing substances. His philosophy basically is the advice that you get from a lot of bodybuilding books, a lot of bodybuilding magazines, websites are not helpful or gonna give you the results you're looking for most people, unless of course you have superior genetics and you have access to the performance enhancing drugs. So I guess this book is meant to be some kind of help and resource for the rest of us that are not the top champions and who have, you know, less resources to work with, either physically or economically. He also, you know, espouses that his training philosophy is more economical than most because you primarily are using free weights, so you don't have to have any fancy machines. He's big on whole food eating. He doesn't recommend a lot of supplements, so it's really about getting your macronutrients, your proteins, your carbs, your fats, getting the right amount of calories, and going from there. Again, he goes into more things about the abbreviated training philosophy, which has to do with quality of exercise over quantity, and only using a few fundamental exercises. Which we'll kind of cover here a little bit later. So one of the key principles for a lot of hard gainer programs is the squat, and this book, the Brawn series, is no different. The squat is the central exercise that they recommend to use to build strength and muscle. Other ones are the deadlifts, but he does not like traditional deadlifts with the straight bar. He prefers that if you're going to do deadlifting, use a parallel grip deadlift bar, which if you've seen some of our other videos, I'll show you kind of what that looks like. Another one of the key principles for his program is the 20 rep squat and deadlift. So one of the core fundamental things to do is you're going to do, or try to do, 20 reps on your squat and 20 reps on your deadlift. Now, there are some nuances to that, but it comes down to basically you're trying to squat or deadlift the heaviest possible weight you can for 20 reps. And their philosophy is that, you know, that's what's going to lead to the gains. Other core principles are progressive resistance. You're going to try to keep adding weight to the bar throughout your workouts and over time. He uses an A-B routine. So one workout you're doing one set of exercises, and another workout you're doing another set of exercises. And those two just kind of continue to rotate, which again is very common in a lot of hard gainer programs. One of the things that I thought was really unique about his program was, though, that he believes in only working out 2 times per week, whereas a lot of other hard gainer programs are 3 times a week. So he believes that you can achieve, you know, the results that you need to do in just 2 workouts a week. The caveat to that is you're going to work out really hard on those 2 days, so it's not a walk in the park kind of routine. Other principles that he has is making sure you're choosing exercises that are best suited for your body structure. He has a theory that certain people don't do well with traditional squatting based on how their body is built, and there's 2 other alternative exercises that you can use. You can use the parallel grip deadlift like we've already talked about, or there's also the hip belt squat, which essentially is it's similar to doing or getting set up what you do for like a dip, because you're going to basically tie weight around your waist, but of course instead of doing a dip, you're going to do a squat. The logistics of that also, to be able to do it, is you're going to have to get up on some kind of platform and be able to lower the weights down until you get at least parallel with your thighs to the ground, or your quads. So that's kind of his principles, and there's one more too, is just using correct technique and making sure you stretch a lot. So overall, I found that pretty interesting as far as his core principles. Now, when we jump into more of his actual advice and techniques and stuff, I also found that very interesting. He theorizes that you should build strength over a multiple set format, and I'll break that down for you here. So what that means is each workout is kind of structured like this. You've got one main exercise, which is going to either be the squat or the parallel grip deadlift. You're going to do one set of 20 on those for as heavy as you can, and if you can do it, then next time try to add some weight. Then you're going to go into some of the other kind of core exercises like bench press, parallel dip, chin up, pull down, row, shrug. Those are back exercises. Overhead press for shoulders, curl for bicep, and calf raises. Now, you're not going to do all those exercises in one workout session. Most likely you're going to pick one for the chest, one for the back, the overhead press for the shoulders, and then maybe do a set or two of curls and calf raises. So for those exercises, he recommends 3 sets of 6 to 8. Again, if you're doing those relatively well, then you need to add some more weight. And then finally, the optional exercises, but not necessarily required, are the breathing pullover, the Rader chest pull down, crunches, side bends, and thick bar holds. Those would be 3 sets of 10 to 12. This book is also big on the breathing pullover, which is doing pullovers, but concentrating on inhaling as much air as you can. On the negative part, and the idea is to try to stretch the rib cage. This is another one of those old bodybuilding philosophies that if you can stretch your rib cage, that actually leads to some chest gains. Of course, we all know what the crunches and side bends are. Those are abdominal exercise. The thick bar hold is basically an exercise where you grab your 45 Olympic bar and you hold the weights parallel for I think 60 seconds. I think that's a forearm and grip enhancing exercise. So again, that's some of the old school bodybuilding stuff there. There's a lot of other various tips that he gives. Some of them like microplating, which is something we recommend here at Joshua Lappin Fitness. That's using smaller than the traditional weights to add progressive resistance. So for example, on my Olympic weight set, the smallest one that comes with it is traditionally 2.5 pounds. So to add weight, you basically have to add 5 pounds because you got to add 2 on each side. So there's other denominations of weights out there. I've got ones that start at 0.25, so I can actually add a 1/2 pound theoretically if I wanted to. Most of the time I'm going to add between 1 and 2 pounds though if I'm microplating. So that's a great technique. He also recommends keeping some kind of log or spreadsheet or notebook to track your reps and sets and weights over time. I also recommend that for that as well. Again, squats and deadlifts are the staple exercise for muscle building. And here's one of the theories too that I thought were very interesting. He makes the observation that your legs and your back are the biggest muscles in the body. Therefore, to gain muscular size and weight the quickest, you want to put the most emphasis on those muscles. So that's why there's so much of the squatting and the deadlifting and some of the other back exercises. So I thought that was pretty interesting that you could do that or think about it that way. So there's a whole lot of other things too about his philosophy in his book I'd like to share with you, but as I said, I think I'm going to split this into 2 parts. We're getting up here over a 15-minute mark, and I know that some people just don't want to sit there that long. So I'm going to go ahead and bring this video to a close, and I will continue this review and discussion in a part 2 here coming up. Again, this is Josh from Lappin Fitness. Please feel free to check out our stuff. We are one of the growing and top resources out there for hard gainers. And check back real soon for part 2 of this review.